Game begin.
Welcome to episode 2 of our brand new pre-modern podcast. I'm here with the beatdown, Michael J. Flores. And
The beatdown. I played blue, white, and then mid range this week.
you are the beatdown.
Sick.
Because your deck had 3 threes in the side event and you turned them sideways. I'm also here with Francisco Fpawlusz, Fpawlusz online, who is also the beatdown, and
apparently
second place in the North American Pre-Modern Championships, Itai Kurtzman, who I would say is the beatdown. I'm Laney Huang. I was the control this weekend.
This is a commander game. Is everyone attacking you?
Yeah, because I'm the one with the Smothering Tithe in play, and a Soul Ring, and a heuristic study.
These sound like parfait cards to me.
They literally are the parfait cards of Commander.
That's you.
Like, is Smothering Tithe land tax? Do you see the similarities? And
No, I don't know what that card does.
but you know the definition of the word tithe and the definition of tax,
Yeah.
right? And the definition of smothering, and you can pull from the context.
Right. Well, enough hate speech. We have
We're gonna kind of meander through some of the stories of the multiple road trips that Team New York and New York adjacent took to Lobstercon, and I think we should start with some lighthearted stuff, or start with the basic setup. Michael J. Flores, Laney Huang, David Tao are residents of New York City, in between Brooklyn and Queens. Itai and Patrick are away for studies, but they're home for the summer.
they live in Manhattan permanently, right?
Well, we'll see when they found their startups, etc. Fran, you live in Southern California.
that's correct.
And Tom lives in New Jersey. We decided to all more or less book the same Airbnb. Itai was out for a couple nights, but book the same Airbnb. I started a Discord called the Pre-Modern Illuminati, and we were kind of a testing team. So we all gathered together, and we're gonna meet in New York, and we're going to road trip out to Lobstercon in Boston. And so we had 2 cars going out, Tom's car and my car. So my car was pretty uneventful. My car was just Itai and Patrick. We had sushi. We listened to Ancestral Recall podcast. I taught them everything I knew about pre-modern, or as much as I could. And
And 2/3 of you made top 8 of day 1.
yes, 2/3 of that car got 2 and 3 in the event. Francisco got into town a little bit later, so he could only get to Boston a little bit later. And tell us about the Tommobile.
Yeah, so the way that worked is, I'm sorry, my voice is off. I had like sore throat for like 2 or 3 days, but
I mean, me too. We've been shouting for joy for 2 days.
oh yeah, that part didn't help at all. But yeah, so basically the whole Lobstercon thing for me worked out in the best possible way, because my wife had to do a work trip, and I just said, so what if
Hear me out.
what if we just turn this trip into a family trip, and then I live for 2 days to go to Lobstercon. Somehow that was good enough to work, and here we are. So the way that it worked is we arrived on Manhattan basically the day before the tournament at like 6:30 or 7 p.m. So Tom and Mike picked me up from the hotel, and then we started the drive. Obviously, hadn't had dinner, so we had to stop somewhere. So we stopped at a Five Guys at like 10:30 p.m. or something.
Five
like that.
Guys burger and fries.
That is correct. We had a burger, but interestingly enough, I had the bun. then Mike did not have the bun.
So
Tom,
Yeah, Mike will fill in on,
All right,
on
so-
the bun-related strategies.
So I go in and I didn't know that Tom was keto, right? So Tom is keto, and people who are keto are basically vegans, right? It's like a religious way of life, right?
like you eat like bacon if you're keto.
Yeah, but you're basically vegans. It's like you live your life a different way than everybody else, right?
Oh, okay.
So-
That's a very broad interpretation of vegan, but
Yeah. So I'm like basically vegan, right? So like I would say that I share a kinship with the good people of keto, but I don't make a big deal about it, right? So I don't walk around telling people how keto I am, right? It's just Lanny who makes fun of me if I'm ever near a carbohydrate, right? So I think we go there and we just order, and Tom says, "Oh, I'll order, a burger or whatever, no bun." And I say to Tom, I go, "Just don't eat the bun. Just like whatever. I'm just not gonna eat the bun, but I'm gonna make a big deal about it, right?" So he's like, but this was the mistake. So Tom had said to the person at the counter, "No bun." He's like, "Oh, I can give you a lettuce wrap," right? And it's like,
That
"Oh,
was
I'll
the
do that," and that was the mistake. So we eat our burgers. I just don't eat the bun, but Tom eats the bun. Eats the lettuce wrap. And we get to Boston a few hours later. Did we play Magic that night?
we got in super late.
And we just went to sleep. Fast forward to like 6 a.m.
Actually, not fast.
No.
That much.
We'll fast forward and then we'll go back.
Okay.
Fast forward, I get up. It's like I'm early. I'm like, oh, we're gonna have stack showers or whatever. So I'm just gonna get up early, take a shower. I walk into like the living room, which was where Fran and Tom were sleeping, and there's no one there, right? So I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on. So I take a shower, come back. I get back, and I see like Fran's like sitting alone on the couch, and he says to me, "Do you know who's not gonna win the North American Pre-Modern Championship?" Okay, and go.
Yes. So the way that this worked is we got to Boston. We got at the house at like maybe 1:30, 2 a.m. It was pretty late, but we're feeling good. We still have like a solid amount of time to sleep because the event fortunately started a little bit on the later side of things. So we're feeling good. We were just hanging out, had a great road trip, shared some cool stories. It was absolutely a blast. But here's the caveat: we didn't know what the next hour and a half was gonna be looking like. So the way that this works out is we go to sleep. It's around 2:15 or something, and then at 4 a.m. Tom pats my shoulder and he's like, "Fran," I'm like, "What happened? Sorry to wake you up, but I've been throwing up 4 times already." I'm like, "Wait, what?" "Yes, I think there's something going on. Like, I can't stop it." I'm just like, "Dude, like, did you get food poisoning or something?" "I don't know." So we're at 4 a.m. I am Googling, how to take care of food poisoning or whatever. And Tom is like throwing up nonstop in the bathroom. And, it gets to the point where every single website that we look at says the same thing, which is like, drinks a lot of water. You have to drink a lot of water because dehydration is the biggest problem. But Tom drinks water, he immediately throws it up. And this happens, and this goes for like a solid 2 hours, till it gets to the point where it's 6 a.m. Tom is feeling terrible. Like, he was feeling well at some point around 5 a.m., and then it sinks badly. And I'm just like, "Dude, I'm just gonna take you to the hospital." So I bring him to the Mass General, and I drop him over there. I'm not gonna lie, he's not looking good. I leave him, and I'm just like, "Dude, do you need me to stay?" He's like, no, you go play. I'm like, "Are you sure?" Because like, you're whatever. He decides to take the L and just like go inside. I come back, and I see Mike, and after I tell him about this, he says, "There's no way he doesn't come back." I'm like, "Mike, he was pretty beat up, man. Like, I don't think that there's no way he doesn't rally back. He'll be playing." I'm like, "Okay." So we're messaging him, and it's like 7:30 or whatever. No replies to any of us. I'm like, "Mike, he was pretty beat up, and I don't think he's gonna make it." Not for a second did Mike doubt Tom. At about 8:30, I received a text, "You can come pick me up. I'm playing." And the crowd goes wild.
He shows the laptop with an IV.
The crowd goes wild. Like, we're all stoked. I go pick him up from the hospital. Shows up with like a freaking. He didn't want to show up with the IV. So he actually went with the Pokemon.
Yeah.
With a Pokemon
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid. Thank you. So that was the choice instead. But yeah, we do show up there. We both win the first round in, I would say, heroic manner. We can probably say that. Then second round, I lose, and I think Tom also. No, I think he was 2-0.
Tom started off 2-0.
Yeah, he started off 2-0. But like, we go to get lunch, and in the middle of getting the lunch, I don't know if anybody listening to podcasts, somebody probably does, but like I get migraines, which are pretty bad, and the way that it works is I start to, like, first of all, my vision gets it's not blurry, it's like I see a stain, and then it starts to grow. It's called an aura, right? And it starts to grow, and then once that goes away, I get a very, very strong headache. So I started to see the aura as we were walking to the restaurant, and I'm like, this is not gonna be good. So because of that, I just went to Jared, and I'm just like, I gotta drop. Like, I'm not gonna be able to play. Maybe I can play like the first 5 minutes of the next match, but like after that, it's gonna be bad. So I just straight up dropped. But Jared was kind enough to like find me a room in like upstairs. And that room was like, it was like a classroom, but it was kind of dark, which was nice, and it was pretty quiet. So I just took a quick 1.5-hour nap on the on the carpet, and I was able to rally back to actually hang out for the rest of the day and be official hype man of the top 8 competitor. So that part was nice. But yeah. Basically, by the time I woke up, I had no idea what round it was, but at that point, I went to Tom and I asked him, how are you feeling? And he was kind of not having it at this point. For whatever reason, he started to feel bad again, and that he eventually decided to go back home.
He just left.
Yeah, he had to leave. Like, he just wanted to go back home, and yeah, that's how that went, unfortunately. Honestly, like, the only black cloud in an otherwise magical weekend. So
Was both of you. I mean, I think, Fran, if you hadn't gotten knocked out by, let's call it, aura of silence, you know, like if Rich Shay's sideboard didn't come after you, you know, I'm sure you would have been top 8 both days. I mean, you're the freaking
I don't know if
Stifle not master.
I don't know if that much, but I think I would have probably had a better run than one migraine.
So I mean, most people who are listening to this podcast probably know who Tom Metelsky is, right? Like,
I would assume so.
Like, Tom went first in the Lobstercon draft, right? Like, you know, Brian Caldwell drafted him first. I think he's a heck of a first pick. It was like Tom, then Flint Espel going second was a pretty prescient pick, and then Rich Shea going third, and that's a good pick, although he didn't make top 8. But who went fourth was our own Lanny Huang, sitting next to me driving this car. So I got there, and, you know, a lot of like the pre-modern, you know, kind of podcast guys, Stalwarts, Mano, those guys were like just tell me the truth, like, you know, like, who's the best guy on the team, right? And I was just like, well, it wasn't Lanny. I'm obviously embittered that Lanny went ahead of me, right? So I'm like, it wasn't Lanny for sure. But I'm like, honestly, it's probably Tom, but like, it might be Fran. Like, Fran wins all the matchups that nobody else wins. So I really think Fran, like, you know, you played a full day on day 2 and backed up whatever your deck and whatever anybody was expecting. I'm sure that if you didn't migraine, you would have been, dude, who can stop you? Itai played the philosophy of Fran, but let's be clear, not the optimal list.
Definitely not the optimal list.
And he came in his first tournament. Like, I think he just became legal, and he. But you're not legal. Why is he not saying things? He's just giving me weird looks. Anyway, then, you give him second. So,
So just be 15% better.
I don't know the math. I don't know the math. Maybe Itai can explain the math, or do computer people know math? Is that I don't think so. No? Okay. All right, anyway, tell your story.
So that's kind of how it went for me, game one. Fortunately, I guess David's not here, but I assume he will be here. So I will only point out that we made great use of me not having a migraine anymore by playing some matches of Hermit Fab actually, piloted by David Tao, versus me on, I was playing Lanny Stack, and he beat me basically every single time.
Which one of my decks, Fran?
That's fair. The Parfait deck.
Wait, so you had Parfait built also?
Yeah.
So David Tao had never played Hermit Tub before, right?
No.
0 reps.
No, but he had it in his like.
No, he owned it. Obviously.
He literally sleeved it before we played. So
his Card Kingdom order is still in its wrapper.
Card Kingdom order. I gave him a Kusa gift certificate.
Promo code Flores, by the way.
I gave him a Kusa gift certificate for his birthday. Anyway,
he said he spent it all.
I bet he didn't use promo code Flores.
But yeah. So basically, I am 65% responsible. That's what he said. His words, not mine. 65% responsible for his win on the other side.
Who got the other 35%? Pog?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Maybe himself got a little bit. I don't know.
Goldfish.
It doesn't matter, Pog.
Exactly.
We should definitely talk to David about the side event separately, but I think we should definitely talk about David now
while he's not here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just say that David came to me before the tournament. He knew how much it meant to me. He saw, us as men, we don't talk enough.
Us as men? What are you talking about? What kind of feelings is this that you're bringing up?
Allow me to explain.
Is this hate speech?
Us as men, don't often talk about how important it is to feel seen. And, David made me feel seen, and he was an extremely important part of the support. He had a difficult tournament, a grueling tournament, piloting Mark Boyd's blue Oath Parfait, basically for the first time with very little reps.
Still managed to have only one loss.
Two
draws, but
one loss and unintentional draws.
One of which it probably should have been a win, right?
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, well, Yeah.
That's the Parfait life.
Yeah, that's the land tax on your record. But David was extremely supportive. I mean, it was amazing, and for the record, also, David is a key part of this crew. We really wouldn't have come together if it wasn't for playtesting and in-house tournament play at his place.
Yeah, I mean, did you write Iron Man vs. the Hulk after you and I played at David's house one night?
Exactly. The sequence of events was interest in a 4-rounder at my place, and I responded, "Is Mike there? Can I crush him?" And he was like, "Of course, Mike is coming." And Mike was there. I borrowed Mike's deck and crushed him with it.
To be fair, what kind of idiot plays the rock?
Yeah, it's a big one. So David's abode was sort of the proving ground for us pulling out our best stuff and giving it our all. And listen, we don't play in other scenes, so we don't know what your scene is like, and trust me, I don't say that your scene's any whatever, but our scene rules, and we're a bunch of madmen killers, and I think we proved it with our results this weekend. And so David Tao's house is just like the Coliseum. And
I had that.
and the slugfest that we have in there, you know,
Like
really,
Flint literally flew to New York to play at David Tao's house on a weekend.
yeah. I mean, we started with Invasion Cube, but
We also
we
played
did
pre-modern
but we did also play pre-modern.
a little bit.
Yeah, that's
But Mano came out. Mano came out from like whatever boony he lives in, right?
yeah. So Jersey, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the end result is that you know, David Tao is really the stone upon which we sharpened our knives, or at least his house was. And David also went ahead and proved that he had some sharp knives of his own at the side event. But you know, I think this is kind of just an awesome thing because, you know, Tao's background is like legacy, vintage, like eternal stuff. And I don't think a lot of people that aren't direct to him like know about him or know his name. Like, would you say?
I don't know. Like me? Are you asking me? How do I
don't know.
people know his name?
Well, when we say David Tao, I feel like that has, you know, about the same clout tills as Lanny Huang in the Magic community.
Well, I think like you're very
Which is
well.
not a lot of clout tills.
You're very well known in pre-modern at this point,
right.
And I feel like
Thanks to my outspokenness.
so like
David doesn't say anything.
So I met David in, I want to say like 2017 or 2018 at an FNN, right? And I always tell this story. We're like X and O at the last table at FNN, and he probably just wants to draw, which is like positive equity on the FNN prizes and go home, right? And I said, he's like, oh, do you want to draw? And I said, what I want is your blood dripping down my neck. And he said, I guess we're going to play. And, you know, whatever, 5 years later, he's one of my best friends. So and the thing that I'd say is like we played the red deck mirror. David played way better than I did, and I won. Just, you know, par for the. I played much worse than him, right? It was just par for the course. I didn't even understand how to do the sideboarding anyway, which he explained to me after I beat him. Yeah, so that was cool.
Yeah, extremely supportive.
Yeah, and so he ended up being like one of my best friends. He lives in like this really cool house in Brooklyn. And I just moved 10 minutes walk from him. So I just go over his house to play.
Yeah, Mike was telling me about the joy of Magic players living near each other for the express purpose of playing Magic. And it does sound pretty awesome. I live like 40 minutes from David's, or like maybe 20 or 30, depending on mode of transit.
Like Lanny made the mistake of like coming to David's house on a moped, like on a Sunday afternoon once. So I took that as license of like, oh, I live like 5 minutes from here. Lanny can always come to me to play test.
And I do, and it's worth it.
So I'm like, this worked out okay for me. Anyway.
Yeah. Everything came up Michael J.
Like it does.
Yeah, but, you know, that's sort of my shout out. We'll talk to David and Michael about Saturday in a different episode.
I was talking to Fran about Saturday soon.
Oh, yeah, we should actually talk about Fran. Yeah, Fran, I wanted to group the Saturday topics, but then Fran won't be with us. So maybe we talk about Fran.
Well, Fran's talking about Friday still because he's testing with David at this point.
Yeah, but Friday, but he's testing with David for funsies while Friday goes on, right?
Yeah, that's how that worked out.
What was I doing? Just watching top 8 matches?
You were just watching the
You were
top
talking,
8.
yeah, you were talking.
And then like David and I played a bunch against Buck. He wanted to play Blue-White Landstill on Saturday. So he wanted to like play against Dreadnought a bit. So I played against him.
Did you mostly win?
3 or 4? No, he actually won most.
Yeah.
I think we played like maybe 4 games, like 2 pre-board and 1 and 2 post-board. And I think I won maybe 1 or 2 of them. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. He actually was doing some stuff that I think I corrected or helped him correct. So hopefully that helped him because he actually went 4-2 didn't he bubble out actually?
Yeah, but I beat him. That was the...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I beat Paul.
Oh, no. Yeah, Patrick didn't bubble out on the Saturday.
I was just a kid.
Because it was a cleanish cut.
Okay.
There was a little bit of complications, but the cut was...
Clean it.
was points above Patrick.
Okay, well there you go.
It was 13 points. Yeah.
But
And he
yeah,
has
so
12.
so after that, I started playing with David with his freshly sleeved Feb deck, which I am not sure he had played before. But let's say that he played it well. Like he figured out the lines extremely quickly, and honestly, like it was kind of mesmerizing to just be on the other side and be with, like, have like 2 swords of plowshares, and like for him to figure out a way to kill me anyway.
Yeah, and let me be clear. There's no transferable skill. I mean, maybe there is, but I don't think there is. There's no way to prepare you for playing Hermit Feb besides playing Hermit Feb. You can't just be like, oh, I'm pretty good at ad nauseum tendrils, and that's a combo deck, and this is a combo deck, so I'll figure it out. You can't be like, I'm pretty good at survival elves, and that's a survival deck, and this is a survival deck. Can't be good at naughty ghoul, the angry hermit deck with the suture ghoul. Like, that's a hermit deck, this is a hermit deck, and I'm gonna be like, oh, this deck is 10 times harder than all those already hard decks that I just described. And David Tao picks this up and makes a crazy run. I sorry, we're already talking too much about David because this is the Fran section. It's crazy stuff. He's playing this deck for the first time.
Yep, I'm gonna be looking forward to hearing that one. Let me say that much. But anyway, so my idea for this 2-part event, which ended up seeing Lobstercon Pre-Modern Championships 200 North American Pre-Modern Championship 2023. The goal was to play Blue-White Dreadnought, the objectively superior list, of course. I wanted to play it on Friday, so that I could play something with land tax on Saturday, because the banning likelihood has spiked significantly over the past 2 weeks, I want to say. Maybe
How about
3
the
weeks.
past 24 hours?
Over the past 24 hours, it certainly has. But like the big spike was, I was on 50-50 maybe like a month ago. And as of 2 or 3 weeks ago, I am on like 8% as of the time of making this comment. And then after yesterday, I'm probably on like 90-ish, I want to say. Maybe things will surprise us, but I do think that... let's not talk about this right now. So I just wanted to play it at least once. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to be able to say, oh yeah, I played the broken deck in at least one event. Turns out that I did not really get to play on Friday. So I was like, I guess I'm just going to play it on Saturday. So that's what I did. And the deck felt pretty good overall. So I can really quickly go over like how things worked out. At least for what I can remember, I played against Robin Lund on round 1, who was playing the Draco Blast, like the land tax Draco Blast deck, which was hilarious. And a
That deck is
potato.
really cool. That was Mano's deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, the deck designer was on Manos podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So the deck looked pretty cool.
I mean, it was physically Mano's deck. That's what I
it was
meant.
physically.
No, it was physically Robin's deck.
No, it was
Robin-
physically
Robin
Mano's deck.
gave the deck. Robin built the deck and gave it to Mano. Mano changed all the basic lands to his like cool basic lands with scribbles on them. Then handed the deck back to Robin, and Robin was like, Mano swapped out all my basic lands and I hate these. And we had like a protracted conversation about how if you lend somebody a deck, you don't swap out the basic lands just because you don't like them, especially, and hand it back without swapping them back.
Oh, wait, so I was playing next to Robin, and he had the coolest looking duress I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's Mano's test print duress, which is like, Mano played it on the PSS. It's a super cool duress. I guess you can't really blame him for the test print duress, but Robin was not a fan of the voice.
Oh, so that's why I thought it was Mano's deck, because I said, oh, that's so cool. And Robin's like, it's
That's
Mano's.
Mano's, yeah.
Like, I assumed that the deck was Mano's.
Yeah.
That was a good context. Thank you.
Yeah, no. And this is great because Robin is the moderator of the Pre-Modern Discord. And, me, you, and Robin, we go at it, don't we, Fran?
Yes, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like Robin.
Who would I agree with of the three of you? No one?
Probably.
Yeah, none of the above. You would just be a fourth chaotic element.
Yes, exactly. And the wrongest one of them all.
Oh, you know how like, it's like north, south, east, and west, right?
What would be an example? I'll tell you who I would side with. What's an example?
Okay. Fran and I mean, this is hard. We've gotten into so many arguments, but Robin would argue that Mishra's Factory is like a passable card in the rock, on like the evaluation that you would essentially not use it for one of your sort of quota for mana sources. You would use it for your quota for
threats.
on-land cards. Yeah. You would call it a threat. And then sometimes it would be a land, but most of the time it would be a threat. I would argue, and I think, Fran, you would agree with me, that for your non-land cards, you need something a little bit more oomph than Mishra's Factory.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with that.
I cannot agree with.
Also, Robin plays City of Brass, which I don't like at all in Rock.
Yeah, the one copy of
To make up for it.
the one copy of City of Brass does alleviate some of the strain that copies of Mishra's Factory have on the mana base, but you know, maybe we'll call it 25 and a half lands, or 24 and a half lands by having Factory, because you know, City of Brass fixes the source count, but you're kind of like doing three-dimensional math, because like you're also counting this Mishra's Factory as a spell. Does it cast anything? Cost, you know, there's.
I get it. So I would disagree with Robin because and I think Robin might disagree with Robin because Robin just played your deck, Lanny Rock.
No. He calls it Lanny Rock, but he runs one City of Brass and some copies of Mishra's Factory.
Oh, that's not Lanny Rock. Well, how's it Lanny Rock then?
Well, there is the presence of Phyrexian Rager.
Okay. Well, anyway, I would disagree with Robin then on 2 dimensions instead of 3. One of which is I like City of Brass in decks like David's deck from Saturday because it wins fast, right? So the time that you have, like that you're beating yourself up with City of Brass, the games are so short that you close out so quickly that
You are also mandated to only play non-basic lanes.
but specifically City of Brass, right? You win so quickly that the ability of a beatdown deck to punish you is constrained, right?
Of course.
Versus, like, the biggest complaint I have with the Rock, and I did pretty well with the Rock this weekend, is that you have trouble closing games against people who could just beat you in one turn, and like these games go very long, and so like the longer you have a City of Brass in play, the more likely you are to take damage from it. And I'm super against the Mishra's Factory is a threat, not a land line of argumentation, because I got burned by Flint Espel recently. taking all of the finishers out of my red deck and telling me to play these stupid Mishra's Factories. And I vividly remember you, Lanny, being like, what the heck is this? I'm like, no, it's good. It must be the best red deck. Flint just sent it to me. Anyway.
Yep. Reminder to the listeners, we try to evaluate cards on how much Philosophy of Fire utils they have, and you want to maximize your Philosophy of Fire units in the burn deck. Personally, I don't think Mishra's Factory puts up very many units. They might even put up negative units on balance.
Well, like on average, you think it is?
On average, I think it's like a -1.
It must be worse than just like a Jackal Pup, right? Like,
Well, it's certainly worse than Jackal Pup, but it's worse than Shock.
on average.
Yes.
I think I can agree with that.
I mean, this is actually just classic Mike Flores, right? Why doesn't the burn deck in Modern play Ragavan, Nimble Pilfer, the best red 1-drop in the universe?
Most of us burn players can't afford Ragavan. Card is very expensive. It was very expensive. Didn't you tell me that in order to sell, you could sell your Ragavans to pay rank for a month or something?
Something along those lines.
Yeah, and some of us are in the balance sheet for Shieldred.
Well, anyway, was hoping to tee Mike up on that one, but he went ahead and shanked it. If your opponent gets to use their creature removal on your thing to effectively gain life, you have gone down in Philosophy of Fire units. And we need our fire units when we're the burn deck because we have access to a finite amount. This is actually a philosophy of philosophy that I apply to non-burn decks. Effectively, like, how good does your thing line up against your opponent's thing? Is just it's just equity, it's just value. So how good your Misha's Factory lines up with what's coming out of your opponent's deck, and how important tapping for one generic mana is for your deck, all kind of factor in to sort of like this up or down equity equation. But I had another thought on it. I need to wrap it. So, Gab. Fran.
Anyway, so I'm playing Robin. Robin's great. We got that part right?
Yes, Robin rules. And
Exactly.
is very tall.
He is
which makes
very
sense
tall.
because he's Swedish.
Dude, like,
Robin's going to Misty, right?
he...
Fran's going to Misty.
I mean, I'm hoping that he is.
He told me he was going to see me at Misty.
Great.
He's making a big assumption there.
Well, there you go. Which is that he's going to Mystic, because like we all know that you are. So that thing is not assumed.
At this point.
That is certain. So, but yeah, I think it was
Would
really
you like
funny.
to meet yours and my childhood hero, Michael J. Flores? Come to Misty Mountain Games in Madison, Wisconsin on July 1st for the Midwestern Pre-Modern Championships, featuring my childhood hero and yours, Michael J. Flores.
I actually want to go meet Lanny Wang.
Oh, okay. Well,
So-
that's not going to happen, but maybe. Oh, I actually did want to say this one point. I gave a big cheer when Rock players were doing well in the main event on Friday, and
Were there any?
yeah, there weren't a lot at the top tables.
I mean, they were. I think all of the Rock records that I heard were 4-4 and 4-3-1, which are like the rockest of records.
Yeah.
I don't think you can get a rockest record. Than
3,
those.
4, and 1 is a more rock
That's
record
fair.
than 4, 3, and 1. But yeah,
That's fair. Yeah,
but they're very close.
they're very like up there in terms of rock records.
I'm hoping at the very least you defeated Parfait.
1 and 7.
That's a
Rockish record.
Yeah. Or anything, but I don't know. It's just cool. None of our team picked the deck for the tournament. But if you did, we were certainly considering it. I think the uprising of Lancedale actually kind of didn't break away from the Rock players.
I actually seriously considered playing it because we just wanted something that could compete with 12-12 and Parfait.
Yeah. Which Rock does reasonably, but it's still very challenging to win in those matchups from the Rock side.
Or any match.
True, any match. And the David and Mike episode will definitely be about that. But yeah, I guess I just wanted to
for Herbert that
I wanted to sincerely I don't know what I kind of want to apologize if at any point you felt the capacity of the Rock was overrepresented by like my excitement for it.
Me?
No, I'm apologizing to any Rock players from day one.
Oh.
Like, if somebody like saw it and was like, this deck is sick, and like it's coming from this guy who seems to be the most prepared pre-modern player in the world, so like there's no way he can lead me astray. I did the best I could. I think I got a couple more % in there, but
Psych.
You think you got... Wait, didn't somebody claim that it went to 46% after the Lanny Rock invasion?
That's a strong assumption.
That's pretty...
well, Metelsky claimed it. Metelsky said that it is tier 1.
Metelsky said to me that it was, quote, playable. End quote.
He was on Earth's podcast. He said, "I think it's tier 1 now. It beats good decks." And I will say that it certainly can beat good decks, but
It can.
it can't deck.
It can beat anything.
It can beat anything. But yeah, I don't know. It's just cool. Like, I only signed Fran's Phyrexian Rager, but there were Ragers on the battlefield. There were Rock pilots I talked to that had Phyrexian Rager on the list. there are players who have played against Phyrexian Ragers, and Michael Hoyp, shout out, huge non-believer.
He's a huge believer in The Rock.
Huge believer in the Rock.
He might be the biggest believer in The Rock in the entire pre-modern.
Also true. I'm realizing how philosophically different we're going to be because he told me he ran 3 Wall of Blossoms. So, yeah. I wonder how much Mishra's Factory.
I have his deck list, but I'm using my phone to record this podcast.
Yeah, enough. We'll record separately, discussing. Oh no, let's get him on. Michael Hoyp.
I kept saying, I was talking about a lot
Other
of.
Viscounts of pre-modern.
He is a prince of pre-modern.
He is a prince. He is a prince. Yeah, he is a prince. It's Flint, Michael, and Aaron are the 3 princes.
Aaron is a prince of pre-modern?
Well, I elevated him to a prince.
When was that promoted?
When was that? I
mean, congrats to him.
Are you allowed to elevate a pre-modern player to prince? That's a thing you can do?
Who handed out?
I thought Mano was the
Mano handed Flint the prince.
He handed Flint and Mike princes of pre-modern
title
at the same time.
Okay. Well, I personally consider Aaron to be a prince of pre-modern, so he can be like
prince among men.
a prince of Wales situation, like he's a prince in another county. Like
The Prince of Wales is first in line to be the King of England.
oh, sorry, a prince of another. So there's multiple like kingdoms. So he's just a prince from another kingdom. So Michael J, and Flint are the princes of Wales, and then he's the prince of dolphins.
Of dolphins?
Yeah, as opposed to whales.
Oh, words.
We're going deep here, huh?
Fine. I mean, I don't know. A count or another lord of pre-modern. I mean, if you're a lord, then that would make him.
I was a lord as of like 2 hours ago. I was never a lord before. I mean, I thought I was a jester more recently than a lord.
I mean, the jester is like a more effective acknowledgement, or you could just be like a lord who's quite funny and entertaining.
Oh, I'd rather do that. That'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, you still host, banquets and like,
But
my lord over serfs. Like, I don't know.
I do lord over serfs, but when posed with PSS competition, I can only beat Nano.
I guess. That is a good point. But
if you're a serf, you're in trouble.
We'll discuss amongst ourselves and return once we've figured out the status of Marindix. I consider him to be a prince. And I took a photo with Michael and Flint and Aaron, and I said I'm just here with all 3 princes. So I kind of started dubbing everyone.
I think if we just start calling Aaron a prince of pre-modern, it'll just stick.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he's a prince in my book. Honestly, there should be a lot more princes. The king is having has many spawn, and we can talk.
The king gets around.
Yeah, we can talk about who's in line for the throne. Because look, if Aaron's a prince, like Rinche, also a prince. Rinche's kind of a Merlin in my storyline.
He's like a wise man.
He's he's certainly he's kind of adjacent to to the.
You're saying he's like a half demon who hangs out in the throne room?
No, I kind of in like a Merlin, like Gandalf sense. Like he's kind of sort of in and out of the picture, but he has like ever present wisdom. And
He's like a Mithrandir.
yeah, I don't know what that means, but yeah.
Ask your wife.
Okay. Oh, this is Lord of the Rings. Yes.
He said Gandalf, his Mithrandir.
Okay.
He's the Great Pilgrim.
Okay.
Anyway, so I get paired against Robin.
So it's round 1.
55 minutes in.
Report is great.
So it's round 1. Get paired against Robin. It's really funny because I play Meddling Mage on tax. Or he has a tax going, but I play a Meddling Mage on Scroll Rack, so he can't really get rid of it. But the funny thing is that he has a potato. So,
Hey, for those who don't know, a potato is a reference to the art on Plague Spinner. 2 and a B, 2-2. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, yeah.
No, beginning of Beginning of his upkeep.
Your upkeep, 1 damage to all creatures, each player, and when potato dies, 1 damage to each creature.
When does it start being called a potato?
I don't know if it's a pre-modern thing, but yeah, they were calling it Spud because it's like, and he looks like a potato Spud, he looks like a potato. I don't know. You were around during that time. They weren't calling it potato.
No.
It's like a new thing.
I've never heard this in my life.
I think subjects within the kingdom of pre-modern dubbed Plague Spitter a potato.
I think it would be hilarious if you and Fran had just like as a bit decided to start calling Plague Spitter potato, and then it's just going to become a thing. Yeah.
It is. No, I'm just saying I think it would be hilarious if that.
Yeah, I mean, if we launched the potato nomenclature to a new level with our stature, then maybe. But play people already know that.
Yeah. So the potato did base, I think, 14 damage.
With attacking or triggers?
Both.
Okay.
And he was using kicked orange chant because I had a board of 2 melee mages, one on rack and one on I think it was Sword Splashers. So I was basically like gushing and like doing that kind of prevent the land tax triggers thing going on. So I only had a plains, and then he had 2 lands, but I had a plains, and then I only played my second island whenever I could gush. So eventually, like, the potato ends up dying to kill 2 of my melee mages, and he does land attacks. And it's really funny because like this game went on for, I want to say like 12 turns or something like that. And I never saw a dreadnought, but I saw 3 melee mages, and between the mages and the potato self-damage and the orange gen that he was kicking in order to like race me, we got into a situation where he was forced to actually kill the potato just so he could, he had psychic therapy just so he could kill both of my mages. So I didn't race him back, bring me all the way down to 1. And along the way, he cast 2 erratic explosions blind because I had mage on scroll rack, so he couldn't set them up. Both of them flipping a 1 CMC card, meaning that I ended up at 1 life with him at 4 or 5.
Yeah, 1 damage, 3 mana is very low.
Yeah.
On Philosophy of Fire units.
Yes. I will agree with that.
It's a fraction of 1.
Yeah. So that one was fun because I ended up top decking. Still never saw a dreadnought, but I found the meddling mage, and then that one dealt 4 or 5 damage and ended up ending the game, which was hilarious. But yeah, game 2, his deck did his thing, and game 3, my deck did my thing, and like those weren't as close as the first one, but they were still pretty hilarious. Yeah. I'm also pretty bad with names, so I'm really sorry if I don't remember the names of the opponents that I played against, so I apologize.
Oh, I didn't say any names.
Okay, well, there you go. Okay,
Are you referencing another podcast episode?
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to that episode, you can download it wherever our podcast is. I don't know. It doesn't even have a name yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess if you're listening to this, you figured out how to find it.
We'll call this series the Lobstercon podcast, and then
that's good.
we'll go from there.
That's good. Anyway, so on round number 2, I play against a very nice fella who is playing Hermit Feb. And I talk to him and I say, oh, I've been playing against your deck all night yesterday, and I think it's awesome, and I want to learn how to play it. So I played against him.
And then he failed to show you how to play it.
No. Actually, he was very nice, and like I think my matchup against him is quite good. So basically, Vision Charm means that the Hermit combo doesn't work, which I find hilarious, because you can just mill after they resolve Crossing Grip and they deck themselves. So unless they already have the Unearth in hand, like you can't combo with.
Does Vision Charm screw up the any Volrash Shapeshifter combos?
It depends on how your opponent plays it. Yeah, I mean,
depends on timing windows, but the base combo with Shapeshifter, Triskelion, Devourer, if those pieces are in hand, is uninterruptible, stacked permanent like anything. You would need sudden shock, literally.
You can mess the Acroma out combo.
Yeah.
Because like you just deny it haste and then that's it. That's just that. So
Right. So the Hermit part of the combo allows some room for action on the opponent's part, but the shapeshifter survival setup is effectively bulletproof.
yes.
Nothing can be done.
Yeah. Also Meddling Mage turns out is very, very good in that matchup as well. So I think I'm basically like never ever tapping out, and he has Therapy me and he knows about the Vision Charm, so he knows he can combo off. And then I just beat him down with a 2/2 because a 2/2 is bigger than a 1/1, as you may be aware of. I think I only play a Dreadnought like turn 8 or something. After I finally could like hold up Dreadnought plus counter plus Vision Charm. So it just worked out well. And then game 2, I think he had to Mole, and I had a very disrupting hand alongside a somewhat quick Dreadnought, so it wasn't very close. Like, let's say that he was hard casting his Wii. Like, I'm just going to describe that
block?
game. Yes.
Your guy has trample.
Yes. But Melee Mage does not, so it was basically...
Game 2.
Yep. So yeah, that game was not as close.
That's a flavor win for Squee, though. Like, lest we forget that the purpose of Squee was to be blocked or sacrificed endlessly rather than discarded in the way that we do it.
Yeah, exactly. So just like the actual Squee for the way that it was supposed to be played. And then after the match, we actually like talked for a bunch, and he explained me like how he was building his deck, which was like different than what other folks were doing. So it was very, very kind of him. Then I played against another person, which I forgot his name, unfortunately. I think it was Mark or Matt, something like that. One of those. Anyway, so he's an actual Feb, like the just classic Feb, which I think is even better for me. But anyway, this is, if you listen to the previous podcast where we actually went a little bit deeper on like how I play Dreadnought and like that kind of stuff, you will, I talked about how my opponent, when I was on the play and I had a turn to combo, but I would basically never go for it, with the exception of if my opponent plays specifically Yavimaya Coast or Basic Mountain on the other side of the battlefield, and he played a Yavimaya Coast. So I just turned to him, and it was enough because I was raising all of, even if he resolved survival, it just wouldn't matter, etc., etc. So I just raised him that way. And then without knowing, I cybered hedging a little bit because I thought that he may actually be in Blue-Green Madness, which was, one of the other decks that he could have been playing. And I apparently play against Cyberpunk a little bit too much.
Yep. Shout out to
Stanley
Chen.
Yeah.
The person who keeps Survival Madness at the top of mind for both of us pretty much on a bi-weekly basis.
Exactly. So probably if I didn't play against Stanley as much as I do, I would have said, oh, I just played against Feb. Maybe I'm playing against Feb again. But instead of that, I said, my opponent could be a Blue-Green Madness. I did consider Feb, but, I didn't bring in like stuff like Fire Action Furnace or things like that we may have brought otherwise. So instead I just brought like some Disenchants and Swords of Plowshares, so... but yeah, the game 2 was, the matchup, I think it's just very good for Dreadnought. Like, I don't really see, like, Melee Mage can just name so many cards and just messes them up very badly, so you don't really need to Dreadnought anyways. I'm sure they can have, like, a Swords of Plowshares or whatever, but it's felt very good most of the time that I played it. So, yeah, that was cool. Then I played against... I again forgot his name. Who was the player that you played against on the Dracoblast deck?
David Daniel.
David Daniel. There we go.
He's about to put finals of the Spring Fling against Will Hurst. He's like the blue-white Landstill master. So was he on blue-white?
No.
You played it. No.
He was playing.
I'm setting it up for a podcast that we're doing.
No. It's David Tao. Okay, well, what did he play on day one?
Blue White Lance stealth.
No. What did he play on day two? The right one.
On day 2, he was playing Red Black Draco Blast. I don't know if I'm supposed to call it Machine Head. I don't know what I'm supposed to
Robin
call
called it Machine Head.
it. Okay, if Robin called it Machine Head, then we got the green light then.
For everyone who's not an MTG mover, and for Itai's sake, Machine Head is a reference to a black-red deck in the Invasion era, and that name is just entirely based on the art of the card Void. So if you've got your Scryfall near you, you can go ahead and check that one out right now. Yeah, Machine Head.
Is it Void? I thought it was for Action Scuda,
No,
which is also a Machine Head.
It's got to be Void.
Right?
it's Void, and I think for Urza's Rage maybe. But it's
You
Void.
see? At that point, why were there so people with Machine Heads? Anyway.
I don't know. I never once called it Machine Head back in the day, but Robin
did you
called it
call
Machine.
it?
What?
What did you call
Black Red.
Great name. Anyway, so
Wait. Sidebar. Michael J.
Yeah.
For or against non-descriptive names of decks?
Depends. Napster 4.
Okay.
Jerry.
No bias there with Napster.
Napster 4. Curious George. Medium. Curious George. What kind of deck is it?
I don't know. It's a deck that has Curib in it.
Nope.
It has.
Play rag of that.
I don't think it plays Ragavan, Itai. I just don't think. I don't think that's likely.
Oh, so it was actually just called George,
Yeah.
but it started out with is being called Curious
Oh,
George.
is it because it's a Cloud of Fairies?
It was a Curiosity deck,
Yeah.
right? So then it was just called George. So why would anyone know what George is?
So against, yeah. What
it's
about
like-
the Rock?
It's like Thalicos Drifters, the Rock 4.
but Lani Rock
is-
biased as well.
No, but the Rock is not called the Rock. It's called the Rock and his Millions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People shorten it to the
Shorten,
Rock,
yeah.
right? The Millions refer to the squirrel tokens created by Deranged Hermit, right? So
You
the
know,
Rock-
these days, like Zoomers are like enraged by, or not enraged, but like the Rock is like used as the prime example of deck name does not describe the deck Discord or
Well, there's
discourse.
there's a Discord just about things. Like, these Zoomers have too much time.
They do.
Okay, so the Rock 4, Napster 4. Napster is descriptive. Napster is about hunting for the card that you want. Okay, so so Brian Kibler came up with the name Napster, right? So I don't remember what I called it. Probably like Mono Black Flores or something.
Yeah.
Flores Black. There's
Yeah.
been many Flores Blacks.
I will say that, I mean, I guess this happens to everyone, but like when I was like 13 and going to locals, like I had a blue, black, green Psychotog deck that was just kind of like everything like extended Psychotog and standard Psychotog and legacy cards smushed together.
Yeah.
And my friends called it Lanitog at the time.
Yeah.
So.
So Frog in a Blender, kind of 4, but can you imagine what Frog in a Blender is?
Well, but the thing is that this is what I am. Why I am for this kind of names.
Yep.
Is that I can't wait for you to tell me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
What color is a frog?
Green.
What color would the frog be if you put it in a blender?
Red.
So it's a fast green red thing.
Red deck.
Frog in a blender.
Is it, what era is this?
Around 2002. So like
FTK deck.
no, it might have. It's like it was really fast. I mean, like, let me think. What's it like? Maybe like Basking Walla and like, you know,
Was it a Mongrel deck? Was it like?
it's weird to me that I can't remember exactly which era Red
Yeah.
Green deck is, but it was called Frog in a Blender.
Yeah.
Rocket Shoes.
Yeah. Did you test a lot of the red green versus burn matchup, red green versus Sly? Were you doing
That was
one?
like around 98.
Okay.
That was different, and we just called it red green, by the way. Okay. Oh no, shoot! That deck had a name, and I can't remember what it was. Adrian would give everything a name.
Yeah.
So that deck was called TDC Heat.
These names rule. Like Phil Wynn with Duty Free and Red Deck Wins, and I like to call it Humongous Red.
Yeah.
Like these names are great.
So the red green deck that we were testing specifically in the red green I matchup story was called TDC Heat. Okay. So
it was called TDC Heat because the team that I was on at the time was called Team Discovery Channel, so Team TDC, right? And it was Heat because it was heat. It was hot, but it wasn't that hot. It wasn't burn, right? So it was just heat, right? So it had like Granger Guild Mage, 2 incinerates. Like, I think Granger Guild Mage 4 incinerates, 2 Granger Guild Mage 4 incinerates, 1 fireball, 1 Caravex torch. So it didn't have a lot of burn. It just had heat.
So allow me to monologue on this topic. The reason I understand like in modern Magic, like you have to enter in your deck archetype into MTG Melee, and then they need to do an archetype breakdown that can be posted on the Wizards live stream, and people can't handle, a non-descriptive deck name. It's like, is it control? Is it main range? Is it combo? What cards are in it? So then we've got, Force Atraxa, Reanimator, main range, and it's like just super descriptive, right? So I agree that it's useful for an audience to have these names. But Mike and I were actually talking about how decks were made in the era before data, and teams would get together and they would have to figure it out
Before the Pro Tour.
Yeah. And pretty short, shortly after our set release, before the Pro Tour, not a lot of data. Even though Magic Online was a thing, you were still brewing Magic Online.
So the other thing was card scarcity was a bigger deal because the distance between the release of the set and when you needed to have the cards for the big tournament was extremely narrow. I had multiple tournaments where I didn't play the optimal deck because I couldn't get cards.
That's the story of the Rock.
Right? So that is actually the story of the Rock. Yeah, that's right. So my team had enough for 3 tricks decks, and I got the cast-offs were all right, we can make you any other deck that's not tricks, right? So I played this black-green deck that my friend Saul made.
Yep. And the rest is history.
So I beat Mike Pistelnik in a Grand Prix trial to get my buys for the Grand Prix, and Mike's like, this deck is really cool. Do you want to work together for the Grand Prix? Mike played it. He won Grand Prix Vegas. I won the PTQ at Grand Prix Vegas, and the rest is history. That's why the Rock broke out, right? It won every event that weekend.
And so that is what I want to get to. So tell me about testing teams and the experience of trying to break it, because you're trying to break it. The other 4 pros are trying to break it. The Japanese team, the French, they're all trying to break it at the same time for the Pro Tour. So what happens? What does this create?
So so the process that I used starting around 1997 was a process that Adrian Sullivan taught me, and it's probably wrong, right? But it's my default process, which is figure out what you think everybody else is going to do, right? Do nothing creative. Nothing creative, no variation. What is the boringest, modest thing that everyone else is going to do? Then that's level 0. Figure out level 1, and then figure out the best thing you can do, right? And then so this is the reason why it's probably bad, is basically assume everyone else is fish. No one has anything interesting to do. Because the problem is we're really creative, and every piece of variation that we put is just noise, right? Think about you, me, and Fran, all having whatever opinions we have about whatever decks we're going to go on, and we crazily assume that that's what other people's decks are going to look like, right? We would have terrible results if that's what we did, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, your assumption has to be, you can't assume that other people have variation. And the funny thing is, I'll show up at a meetup, and, I remember I played the Rifter Mirror with Jeff Ferris at a meetup, the one that Flint came to, right? And I think I won that meetup, but I think we ended up going to time. We were talking through, and I'm like, he had played exactly the list that had made top 8 at Euros,
right?
Which had so many mistakes, right? And I'm like, but everybody knows these are mistakes. You shouldn't play Forbidding Watchtower, right? It's just not good in a deck with 4 Eternal Dragon.
Or Enlightened Tutor in your Dreadnought deck.
So, yeah, or whatever, things like that. But, Jeff is, in the community. He's, one of the guys who gets to play at Dave Tao's house, right? But he's no, I'm going to default to playing the list that is the published list, right? So the process is you don't assume anybody else is doing anything creative. Because the second that you do, you are screwing up. Yeah, you inbreed,
yeah.
right? So you can only assume one level above everybody else, because once you start assuming too many levels,
Exactly.
then
One of my opponents actually at Lobstercon built a blue-white control deck that was geared towards winning against Landstill. And that's actually the story of Tide, basically, right? Landstill's popular, and then Tide was popular too. I mean, maybe. I don't know exactly. The point I was actually trying to make of like what the difference is between black-green mid-range and the rock, and what I think Fran would agree with, is just that these stories are more important than the cards in the deck. That, you know, the rock is called the rock because Soul gave it
that name.
Like, Soul gave it that name, and it was a transient thing. It was a thing that happened, like you say, like over the course of a few weekends, and there's a story attached to the name, and the story is more important than the cards in the deck.
So
It's like 100 years from now, like the story of Team Handshakes, like black red mid range that got Stoyer his 100th top 8, like that deck name won't carry that story. Like black red mid range means nothing. But if it was called whatever, like Chandra's Handshake, some stupid Zoomer humor name, like it would be like emblazoned into the history of the cards, and that like those cards would then carry the name.
This is going to be like a very, very apropos to what you're talking about, especially for this deck. So the reason that the deck has this name is because Sol Malka is a giant wrestling fan.
Right, exactly.
Okay? So all of his decks in this era had names that were named after wrestlers. So he had a deck in Standard called the $1 Million Man because it was all rare. In an era when people used, it's me crazy people who are playing contemporary Magic that like your entire deck wasn't rare in Mythic.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's just the default now, right?
Yeah, that's called Money Pile.
What?
It's called Money Pile.
So yeah, but
Mike doesn't know what Money Pile is.
it's the deck with all the pitch cards in
He knows Money Pile.
in Modern. I played Modern.
Okay.
So yeah, but like in this era, people played like common and uncommon cards in Constructed, and they were viable to play, right? In contemporary Magic today, your entire deck is rare and Mythic rare. So the idea of a deck called the $1 Million, because all of his cards are rare, not by theme,
Right.
but because like that was for this deck strategy, you needed Birds of Paradise, because if you didn't have Birds of Paradise, you couldn't cast Shadow Mage Infiltrator on the second turn in your base green deck, right? So like, and then you had to play like Yavimaya Coast, and you had to play like all of these different dual lands that were all rare, right? So he had a deck called $1 Million Man. He had a deck called Big Papa Pump because Albino Troll has giant biceps.
Nice.
So the name of his deck is Big Papa Pump. So
I have the aside. Ole Rod's Discord name is Big Papa. Is that anything to do with
I don't know. Maybe, right? But I'll just close this out, and then we can get back to Fran's narrative on the rock. Sol actually wanted to change the name of the rock to Goldberg because I started off 14-0 in 3 tournaments. So I won 14 straight matches, which was like a ridiculous run, right? For a deck. And at the time, the gimmick of the wrestler Bill Goldberg was that he never lost, right? So he said, no, Goldberg is the better name, GB, because it's a green-black deck. And he said, so this is this is a green-black deck. We always name decks after wrestlers, and it's to honor your streak, right?
Right.
So, like, can you imagine if the deck was just called Goldberg instead of The Rock, right? Like,
you would be so much more relevant.
yeah, so like,
It's history.
yeah, but like, no, I mean, whatever. Saul knows this story, right? Adrian knows this story.
It would just be on the wiki page for Goldberg instead of the wiki page for Rock.
Yeah, so, but the thing is, like, I mean, I don't care, right? Like,
Oh, you can. But yeah.
if they called it Flores Goldberg, like, maybe, but I mean, that I am, like, for some deck names to be like that, but I would actually say, like, there are deck names, me coming up, like, Suicide Black was the name of an archetype, right?
Yeah.
Self-damaging, sort of.
Yeah, that's very on.
Like, you have like Carnophage and Sarcomancy that are damaging you. Hopefully you're damaging you at a slower rate than you're damaging your opponent. That is a triggering name for some people. Like if you have experienced,
Right.
Friends, family members who, suffer from mental health issues or drug overdoses or any, look, it's probably not great, and I think that it's better if we maybe, I don't want to not have that name like erased from the history of what people wrote term reports 20 years ago or something, but like it's probably not great, honestly.
Oh, well, I agree with that. I mean, I think you can definitely choose creative and enriching deck names that are also, that wouldn't be triggering. But yeah, I mean, it's like I'm saying, like, a lot of people have gripes about calling the white mid-range deck in pre-modern the solution because it's nothing like
the actual solution.
but it has meddling mage.
So here's the thing. Do you know why the deck was called the solution?
Yes, because I read the article. Well, you can go ahead and tell our listeners.
So Scott Johns would tell this story that there was an article written by Sean McEwen on the Neutral Ground website called, and it referenced the deck Rocket Shoes. I said, what's Rocket Shoes? You guys any idea what Rocket Shoes is?
No.
It references a card from Invasion Block. I can't remember what Kabu it is, but it's like Pouncing Kabu or something. It's like 3/1 Flash Haste or something, right?
Raging Cabo.
Rage Kabu, right? So, and I just called it Rocket Shoes because it looks fun, because he looks like he's jumping and he has haste. I'm like, oh, he has Rocket Shoes. So Sean McEwen wrote this article called Rocket Shoes, right? And he basically single-handedly defined the entire format before the Pro Tour, just from like a random playtest session at Neutral Ground, but he published it publicly, right?
Yeah.
And so that was just the deck that the entire, Sean McEwen has never played on the Pro Tour to the best of my knowledge, right? But the entire Pro Tour was like, oh shoot, this deck that some guy who played at Neutral Ground one night said was going to be like this really good deck is actually just the best deck. And there were 4 copies of Rocket Shoes in the top 8 of that Pro Tour. 4 out of 8, maybe 5 out of 8. So Zvi Moshowitz and his team were like, we know what the problem is.
Were you in the mix with? Were you in the room with Z?
I was not in the room with Zvi. He was on a team with Alan Comer at the time, and I was like, I'd love to tell a story about like testing for that season, but I wasn't on a team with Zvi at the time, right? So, I know Zvi or whatever, as a friend or whatever, but he was teaming with Alan Comer's team. With Brian Sultan is on their team actually.
Nice.
So Zvi said, we know what the problem is. We're going to find the solution. And that's why the deck is called the solution.
What did we name the meddling mage?
What?
What were we naming the meddling mage?
It just didn't matter. Their deck was a solution. They had the card Voice of All because they could set it to red or green, and then the other guy couldn't attack them. Right? They had like Galena's Knight to block Flametongue Kabu. Their entire deck had one purpose and one purpose only, which was to stop Rocket Shoes. It had no other purpose, but they knew like 75% of the Pro Tour was going to play Rocket Shoes. That's why the deck is called the solution. It has nothing to do with Meddling Mage.
Well, no, but meddling mage was in the deck.
It's card in the deck.
But that's what's so cool about calling it. You're evoking, like when you put meddling mage in your deck, right?
But that's like, not the solution.
I understand, but it's just evocative. This story of the story of meddling mage performing an invasion block constructed is like now burned into like it's a very long history, right? It's an invitational card. It's Chris Picula rules. It's been a part of the solution. Pre-modern is all about like old era, like extended or maybe block constructed like strategies. And like at the end of the day, yeah. So like the solution doesn't mean anything in the context of pre-modern, but just like every black-green mid-range deck for all eternity will be called the Rock. It's just like this blue-white meddling mage deck. It's just evocative of that. So like while the name isn't descriptive, like it's meaningful. It keeps the story alive. And maybe like I think it's like silly to be like, oh, it keeps the story alive because people keep asking like why it's called that. But I mean, functionally, that basically is. It just like it it tells, like, when you hold a meddling mage in your hand, one thing is that it is unreal cool that a human man is depicted on it, like a real person with a name and a story attached to it. But it's just a piece of cardboard until you give it a story about all the things that it's been in and done. And I just like love that so much, and that's why, you know, I'm very like attracted to those names, like, you know, even if they're inaccurate, like the solution, or, you know, it's just like, why are we calling all these decks parfait decks? And it's just like, well, it's, you know, it's just a fun thing to call it, if inaccurate at times.
So, Fran was playing against Robin Lund.
Fran was playing against David Daniels,
Right, I was kidding.
Machine Head. You can't call it Machine Head.
Robin called it Machine Head.
Yeah, Robin is incorrect, right? Because Machine Head, like now I just feel like Mano changed the game on Machine Head, and Machine Head has got to be a little bit more Lavaborn Muse action.
Well, but Mano actually does not. Mano actively does not call his deck Machine Head, though.
Oh, okay. So we just kind of
He calls it Black Red Muse, right?
Exactly. Something like that.
that's fine. Well, in that case, David Daniels can have Machine Head Draco Blast.
Exactly.
I mean, it's Draco Blast, right? But it's just
Yeah, I mean, it's funny though, because like it's kind of another combo, but somehow I saw it twice in the same tournament.
Yep.
Which
there
was,
were 4 pilots, 3 or 4 pilots. There was like 2. There was like 3 Draco Blast and Robin's Tax Fracturing Draco
Yeah.
Blast.
and like with different shells, right? Like 2 different shells, which is also very cool.
And it was one of the shells, including David Daniels shells, including 4 copies of Phyrexian Ranger.
Yes, Phyrexian Rager,
I need to buy more
because
Ragers.
because this deck is playing
We got a lot.
because this deck is playing 4 Dark Grids, so you can
Oh my God! Dark
Turn-
Ritual, Dark Raid, Phyrexian Ranger.
do like you get to make
2 for 2.
You make the optimal play, right? Like the best play that you can make is turn 1 Dark Ritual into Phyrexian Arena,
Yeah.
right? And then there's the second best play that you can make, which is obviously Dark Ritual into Phyrexian Rager, right? Because
If you don't have the arena, you can. Have
exactly.
How about
Dark
not
Ritual into Hippie is unplayable, so don't worry about that.
yeah.
What about
That's
how
my
about
bid
he
though.
Dark Ritual negated me?
Oh,
Yeah, you're
that's
the
it.
Gator Mike though.
All right, yeah, that one is also. I guess that's the second optimal.
We
play.
do a lot of hate on Dark Ritual, Fran and I. But I will say, and I won't say it a lot, David Daniels' Dark Rituals were pretty sick.
Not against me though, because he turned 1 ritual. He turned 1 ritual the Hippie, and he lost 3 turns later.
Yeah.
So it was not. I mean, he missed land
He even
drops.
got it.
so-
He even got in with it.
He got in
Yeah.
3 or 4 times, but I just went, play land.
He does not
melee
have
mage.
that touch for players.
Is there
Yeah.
is there a
It's
line
weird how that works.
that you can take with Draco Blast, Machine Head, whatever you're gonna call it, that makes it good against Aaron Dix? Or is it just atrocious against Aaron Dix?
And you just kill him on turn 5, like just play suppression and then kill him on turn 5.
But they can kill you just as fast. And then like you're taking damage from lands.
Well, everyone's taking damage from lands, right? But I mean, I don't know. We haven't tested the matchup. It was actually incidental, funny because Tom Metelsky, our own
Hero. It's used the word hero.
our own Duke of Pre-Modern, loves this deck, and I actually play tested it against him a lot with it. 'Cause I wanted to see if it was.
If I were playing against Mono Red, I think I'd probably win on turn 3. Like my opponent will break Bloodstain Mire on turn 1. I'll Lightning Bolt them on turn 1. Turn 2, I'll cast Dark Ritual, Insidious Dreams for 2, untap, play my land, and then Erratic Explosion them with the Dragon.
Oh, you were trying to. Your lead was that Dark Ritual's the only way you beat Red.
Yeah.
and thus Dark Ritual rules.
No, I'm saying, is there like, but that's like a kind of cornery strategy.
I mean,
Very
Metelsky ritual dreams me a lot when we play test it. So I think it probably happens more than people would think. But if you think about that line for a second, you need ritual, dreams, and the 2 things to pitch to it. That's a 4-card hand.
And a Lightning Bolt.
And the lands,
Yeah.
right? And the lands to cast it.
Yeah.
I'm a master. Anyway, you're playing against David Daniel. The ritual's hippie.
Yeah, he originally skippy, but I
Originally Sippy and still is.
yeah, I still beat him down.
That's the god draw.
I mean, he moved to 5 though.
Oh
Yeah, he actually.
Well, he clearly he multiplied looking for ritual hippie.
I mean, he was looking for like a ritual hand most likely. So yeah, so game 2 was similar, but not. He played a little bit more. Basically, he just actually cast more cards. I honestly can't remember what they were, but let's say that there were not that many discard spells involved, so things were pretty smooth for me there. And then, like, there's a funny thing that happened right there, which is that at this point, what was announced was that there was gonna be no top 8, right? So it was announced as a no top 8 because at that point, I think I'm locked, just that I can like double draw into top 8.
Locked up 4-0. It's a 6-round tournament, right?
Yeah, so I think I'm just locked for top 8 at that point.
And let it be noted, Fran's misrepresenting. It was known to most competitors that there was no top 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Fran.
Exactly. So
when I went over to Fran and he was like, I think I can double draw in, or David was like, I think I can double draw in, because David was also 4-0 at the time. I was like, there's no in. We're just getting cards. So there's no drawing, so just play and win.
So we just got paired against elves. What's his name?
Was it Spencer?
It was Spencer. Yeah, thank you. So
Spencer, New York.
yeah, got paired against Spencer, who had this gorgeous foiled out elves deck. So clearly he knows what he's about. He told me that he was actually playing the deck in the main event as well.
And he was 9th on day 1 on breakers.
Oh, he actually, I didn't know that part. That's sick. So I didn't get to draw in, so I have to play against Spencer and Elvston. And it was funny because like up until this point, it felt like the deck was delivering on every axis, and in this match it was exactly the opposite. I have everything rolled up with like multiple layers of protection, kind of like doesn't matter what my opponent does. So basically, game 1, it failed on the Dreadnought axis. I had a Meddling Mage on survival, and he's very, very slowly playing. Like turn 1, he played something, and like I let it resolve. It was like an elf. So turn 2, I play Meddling Mage named Survival, and he plays Multani Acolyte. Misses land drops, flush to the back. Turn 2, he untaps and he pays upkeep. So he's just doing nothing. He misses land drop again, passes the turn back. So neither of us are doing nothing, but the turns go by and I'm just like cantripping and I'm like sending cards to the bottom with opt. I try to like send like gush twice, I think, and the game just gets to a point where basically my opponent is just like looping the only action he's got going on, because I counter the Multani Acolyte after he has a Symbiote or 2 in play, is he is just tutoring for lands with Javimaya Granger. So he's just playing and bouncing it.
Playing the deck then.
Yeah, exactly. Like one like once a turn, he's like,
I mean, he's still 2-for-1-ing, right?
Get a land. And I'm not doing anything. Like I can't attack, right? So because he just has Symbiote in play, so like I can't clock him. But if at any point I have like Stifle, so even if he has Hermit, I can still buy time. If he has basically very few cards that he has actually matter, but because I'm doing nothing, he's just getting ahead every single turn. I gush twice, I portent at least 3 times, never see a Dreadnought. And then I want to say like 10 turns later, he eventually finds a way to like break through with Elvish Champion. And then he just clocks me and I just lose. And then game 2, I have everything rolled up. I have turn 2 Curse Totem on the play. I have the Dreadnought combo as well. I have Daze. And I have, I think, a counter spell.
Ooh, Dave's in post board against elves.
So I have Portent and Opt in hand in a 1-lander, like a fetch land. So I keep and I go turn 1 Portent, I whiff, I shuffle, looking for a land obviously, and I don't find anything. I don't know. I think I draw something like a foil. Second turn, I play Opt, whiff again, like put a card on the bottom, find a Portent. He plays something and I daze it. Then like I same thing happens. I portent again, I whiff again, and it just got to a point where it was just like too late. By the time that I found the second land, I just couldn't do anything. So it was pretty brutal. Then I lost against elves, and this is where we talked to Jared and we're like, what if we did a top 8? Like, can we do a top 8? And Jared said, like, if you guys want, let's go, let's do it. So we're basically trying to figure out if we can draw in, and it looks like we may be able to, but it's not clear because like the people in the other table don't know whether they're going to, and like so because people have to go, and if there's a top 8, they don't want to play. So it's very basically a very weird situation, and
I'm like doing breaker math on a paper because I'm like really bad at breaker math, and I'm like trying to figure out everyone's top 8 scenarios except for a bunch of random people are gonna like leave.
Yeah, exactly. It's really weird to figure out like breaker math, how breaker math works when like 2 or 3 of the people that may make it in, like they're gonna drop if they do. So we want to make it so we actually play. So the people that are dropping, we don't know what to do about them. So it's everything is like very, very weird. But like in the meantime, we're like, hey, like whatever, we're just gonna play anyway, and then we'll see what happens. And then we are in a situation where like I play against. I know his last. I remember his last name was Pereira. Or I imagine
his first name was Michael.
Oh, there you go. Well, thank you much, Michael Pereira, or like Pereira,
yep.
However you pronounce it. Whether it's in Spanish or in English. Super nice guy, and he told me he would like watch my videos and stuff, which I really appreciated. Thank you, Mike, for that. And he's playing a solution, a blue, white, red solution, which is
Star Spangled Slaughter.
Yeah.
This girl, however you want to call it, which is a great matchup as long as his deck doesn't function. So my best bet is that his deck lets him down.
Wait, so it's actually a bad matchup?
It's really bad, yeah. Because like he has meddling mage, but usually my answer to mage and dreadnought is I main deck his Source Splashers. Turns out he also has mom. So like there's like all these layers of cards.
Just lightning bolt your meddling mage. Right?
He can also lightning bolt my mage, and he can also like fire ice my mage or fire ice my dreadnought if he wants to like buy a turn. He races me in the air with exalted angels
with an exhaust
that I have no way of dealing with. Like it's so bad. He also has like 4 plows. He has counter magic. So this is terrible.
This is fascinating to me. I'll tell you why. When I played mono blue, right?
Yeah.
I played against the red, white, blue deck at least once. I think I played against it twice, and I 2-0'd it both times, so I assumed it was a easy matchup.
I mean, I think you just got lucky.
Yeah, I had a lot of turn 2 combo then.
Yes. I mean, if you turn 2 and they don't have, I mean, if you turn 2 with like foil backup or something, maybe it's a little bit better. Or like, or their mana doesn't function. But like, if they go turn 1 mom, even if they go turn 2 melee mage, you just can't. You just can't.
Oh no,
do that.
I'm aware, but I was just like, oh, this is just an easy match.
Exactly.
Like I think I was just like turn 2, like whatever, like days from meddling mage.
Exactly. So it's a brutal matchup, and like Mike played it very, very well. He fought over the things that matter. He ignored the ones that didn't. The only thing that I remember, like he beat me pretty soundly game 1, and the only thing that I remember from game 2 was, I'm not kidding, like a 7-card stack that included me flashbacking Flash of Insight for 18, I think, or 19 or something like that. So basically demonic tutor for a gush, which is what I was looking for. Which was very fun.
I was watching this. I was watching Fran count 18 cards, and I was like, "Did you find what you're looking for?"
Yeah. Turns out I did. Yeah, I found the gush. It was still not enough. But it was cool. Like he played a very slow game, and he had like the best combination of things, which is he played a control game where he only drew exactly 6 lands, no more, no less. Which is the perfect number that allows him to play like a big stack, but it doesn't flood him, so like it gives me no room to breathe. So I'm kind of stuck with if he fights over the Dreadnought with an all, then I'm stuck with like all of these random stifles, and like I was literally saving stifle so that I could potentially plow the melee mage even if he had him in play. Like that's how bad the situation was at that point. It was very, very bad. So he actually ended up beating me, but then we end up going with the cut to top 8, and like 2 of the people that were gonna make it in actually didn't. Like they just left. So we're like, I mean, I guess we'll just like draw, and
Yeah, you were put into a draw
yeah, exactly.
scenario as the as the round end, basically.
Exactly. So that's how it ended up going. So that was really funny. So then we play in the top 8, and I get paired against probably the spiciest deck of the top 8, I would say, which was Travis playing this crazy Tireless Tribe deck with a combo angle that included that was the card that swaps
About face.
yeah, exactly. which swaps power and
So
toughness.
you just discard your hand to give it +4, +0, and then you just hit them for 20 with the
Exactly.
Okay.
So like, you don't hit them for that much, but like you like do like cheap damage. So it's playing Weather Wayfarer, it's playing Meddling Mage. He actually posted a picture of the deck in Discord, so if you want to learn more about it, you can find it in there. But it's doing it's just playing like a value game with quite a speculation and a bunch of just flashback cards, and then it has 4 copies of Circular Logic as well. So the logic got me real good actually.
So you discard Circular Logic to Tireless Tribe, and then you can Madness it for 1.
Exactly.
And then so that's like a Force Spike or whatever.
It's a 1-mana counter spell basically, because exactly. Because he's like very good at
Card in your graveyard.
exactly. So he's like very good at like being able to like turn that into value.
Nobody plays that in pre-modern, right?
No.
No, not even the Madness
Yeah.
players, because the mana stack is so like survival so important as an outlet, and you can't pitch Logic to survival. And then also there's sort of a philosophy that like if you have a creature in play, like that's like already great for you, but you need action for when you don't have an outlet to play. So
But Psychotog doesn't play it either?
Psychotog will play it, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if Hurst had like 4 in during his Psychotog run, but most Psychotog decks I compete against will be running a bunch, because they have 4 Psychotogs, so they'll normally have access.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they can cast it for free much happily, and Madness can.
Exactly. So it was really sweet, and it was game 1. It was kind of the same thing. Like it was really fair. Like the deck really delivered until like the last couple of rounds, and like game 1, it was just I just drew nothing. Like I kept a hand with cantrips and I just flooded. So I never saw a Dreadnought, and when I finally, like he just had like 2 Melee Mages, eventually he got 2 Melee Mages, 1 on Dreadnought, and then like the other one on Swords to Plowshares, and I was locked out. And then the game 2, I have it on lock. I have it, I'm good to go. I have Dreadnought, and my hand is Vision Charm, Foil, Island, and I have 5 lands in play. And it's basically, I basically have it locked. I think I had Gush. I actually had Gush. So that's how it worked. So I am Vision Charming my Dreadnought, right? I have a Dreadnought that's faced out, and my opponent can interact with it until my next turn, when I can Vision Charm to save it, I can hardcast a foil, and I can also like pitch to cast to a foil thanks to the Gush. So I basically have everything locked, except he taps Undiscovered Paradise for black, and he plays Cabal Therapy. He thinks, and in the blind he names foil. I show him the hand. I start laughing maniacally, because it's the sickest read of all tournament. It is absolutely crazy. And he does that. Then he plays a Meddling Mage on Vision Charm. And he untaps like I untap and like the Dreadnought comes back and he disenchants on my upkeep, and just like good stuff. That was fun. So that's kind of how it went.
Is Tireless Try better than just playing the Dreadnought combo in a second? It sounds like those cards all work good with Dreadnoughts.
I mean, he has something else going on. He has been playing a value.
Okay.
So he's playing quite a speculation value.
Oh, okay.
basically.
Got it.
I mean, he doesn't have access to Battle Screech, which other quiet speculation decks have had.
You really know everything. What the hell is Battle Screech?
Battle Screech is 2 and white. It's a popple. 2 white is a pauper staple. It's the make 2 birds, and then the flashback is tap 3 untapped white creatures you control. So it's basically make 4 birds if you tap 1 white creature you control for 4.
For 4?
And, you know, with quiet speculation, you have access to just everything. So you put like Railroad. Well, you can't really put Railroad Recognition in your deck because it's a green flashback, but you can just like put the coolest stuff. So this has always been base black, blue, white, because the best flashbacks are Battle Screech, Deep Analysis, and Cabal Therapy. And there's not really black cards. Like the Cabal Therapy is kind of a free roll, but it'll run Rainbow Lands. But the decks that I had seen were popularized and designed by this European player, Flippy. Or is he European or South American? Do you remember?
He's European.
Oh, he's European. And he organizes a ton of the tournaments out there, and kind of like is a big magnet for his scene. And yeah, so he's like all about this sort of quiet speculation, pure like value tempo setup, where it doesn't run about face as a combo, but it doesn't have access to Tireless Try. That was awesome.
Yeah, so this version of the deck was actually playing more spells. So it was 5 color. So you had access. He had access to not only therapy, but he was also playing a Ray of Revelation. I don't know if in the main deck or sideboard, and like he was also playing the flashback. There's like a white flashback holiday that prevents all damage, and so he's playing like a bunch of cards like this, like a bunch of one-offs, which was very, very cool. Also, I want to
expect toolbox. Oh, he had Roar the Worm.
He had a one. He actually had a one of Roar of the Worm.
Just one of?
Yeah, he like just stood there for.
Mike just wants to make 3 6/6s in consecutive turns.
I mean, that seems like the best thing you could do with flashback cards.
It is. It is some fun stuff.
I mean, I personally am down to lose 9 life and draw 6 cards, but I agree.
So I want to give actually a quick shout out right here to Itai, who, as we were talking, he is scryfalling every single one of the cards that we're talking about. So he just doesn't know what the cards are, like he's just figuring them out as we speak.
Itai, you're pretty lucky you didn't have to deal with Tireless Tribe About Face in the main event.
Exactly. So
I actually know that one from Popper.
Yeah, it's Popper. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's Popper list. Popper list, y'all. Quiet Speculation is an uncommon.
And I knew Battle Screech was my
That's a huge Popper column.
So there you go. You know, this is how you get second at the North American Pre-Modern Championships. Is like you do your homework. You know,
Scryfall.
Popper and Pre-Modern are twin flames. Either formats have Planeswalkers or 2-for-1s. You know, like good 2-for-1s besides 5X and Rage or legal in both forms.
And then Xabi Orangutan.
I'm just saying, like, good to, like, you know, like, or well, let's just say 3-for-1s.
David beat me with an Auramancer.
Yeah, Auramancer ribbons.
But yeah, so it was really cool. It was very, very cool. The good thing about being out early is that I was able to watch every one of. First of all, I was able to watch a fantastic play. I was able to, number one, watch all of David Tao's matches for the rest of the day, which was great. Trying to understand the stuff that he was going for, and some crazy freaking lines that he was able to figure out on the spot when he was like short on mana, and like it was wild. And second of all, I was able to watch a match played for 13-year-old David Tao in his honor, which I'm pretty sure that you folks will be able to hear about in a future episode of this very podcast.
Yeah, that was a very heroic match, played by an extremely handsome person.
Extremely handsome, extremely skilled.
Very skilled.
Very, very skilled. And he apparently had a dealer in, so...
He did have a dealer in,
You know?
But yeah, it was very fun to see like how things change between game 1 and game 2. It's like game 1, like I mean day 1 and day 2, how everybody was like really trying to get land taxes last hurrah on on Friday, trying to do that, and then there was the other players that were preying on that, so there was a ton of land still as well, which were very, very funny. And then on game day 2, it's like everybody said, I'm gonna have fun. So all of the land tax decks were just either something like what Robin was doing, or I saw multiple Terrageddon lists as well. So it was very, very sweet to see the difference between. It was kind of like a before and after kind of deal, you know, like a before like right now when you can, you know, actually try hard and play land tax versus the next day, which is kind of like maybe a glimpse into the future after like land tax is gone.
It's like you lost both, right? So there's no land tax day 2. There's also effectively no land still day 2, and like land still can be miserable for some people too. And then also like, you know, there's a lot of the fun police was on break on Saturday. We'll just put that off. They were getting coffee and donuts.
Yeah, there was basically no sly. There was a healthy amount of goblins. There was so much fab.
Yep.
There were
so much fab and so much Draco Blast.
Yeah,
Is
it was wild.
red good against?
Fab?
Yeah, I think I played Mike Harris with red, and I think I won. I think I played against him, and I think I won.
I think it's either extremely favored or extremely unfavored. I don't remember the last time this was discussed, but I remember it was discussed.
I think I don't remember, but my imagination is I beat him with Price of Progress, and that I told him that he should play Tempting Worm in his sideboard.
Right.
Does that sound right?
I mean, Price of Progress definitely seems like it annihilates them, especially if you like kill their dorks.
Yeah, I think I went.
We're gonna sound really dumb to the like people who actually know Hermit Feb, but
I mean, for what I
Yeah,
got,
but I might have lost to him, but I
Yeah.
think we played, and I think I beat him.
you probably wouldn't give him sideboard tech if you lost the matchup. You'd be like, I know you just crushed me, but your sideboard could be better.
for what I gather is, red is actually a pretty bad matchup
For Feb.
Perfect.
for Fab. Yeah.
I mean, all your lands do damage to you. You can't produce colored mana without dealing damage to yourself.
Yep. So like I feel like I hear that one of the angles of like playing Shallow Grave was precisely red, because you get to like play your hermit, have it killed,
Yeah, you have to.
and then just basically kill them on your end step. Like that's the move. Like you just kill them with haste is what I mean.
Yeah, because Hermit Feb combo, the Walrus Shapeshifter combo costs U pip, G pip, G pip. So that's 4 damage to yourself. You can't even like do it without help from a lot of gemstone mines and reflecting pools, huh?
Or a bird. Bird's never gonna live.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
bird in your graveyard. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like 0% chance the bird lives.
But yeah, it was really cool. It was a very nice event. It was actually nice that we got to play some extra rounds, because like I was really thirsty for more after only having played 2 the day before. Like I really wanted to play. I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to play something else. Like I was really looking forward to like playing something else. I was split between being the bad guy and playing Parfait, just because I wanted to, for once, say I played with the broken deck.
Don't kid
when it was
yourself.
legal.
You were the bad guy.
That's fair, yeah. I was probably the bad guy anyway, but yeah.
Luckily, your deck loses to weird, fun, blue, white, red decks that have
Yes.
all sorts of cool stuff going on.
Yes, exactly. My strat is that their mana base doesn't function. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. It was probably like one of the most fun weekends, period, I've ever had. It was kind of amazing, honestly.
Yeah, Fred, take this moment for your shout outs.
Yeah. So I guess I'm gonna start from the beginning. I wanted to shout out all the people who signed the cards for me. Like, this was a nice little project that I unfortunately only figured out 2 days before the event, so I was actually very limited in what in what I could actually do. But I thought that it would be a cool idea to have like different members of the community, at least members that I know of or that I interact with on the Discord on a regular basis. It was kind of like as an excuse to like put a face to the name and like to get a little bit memento of the event. So I have like a bunch of cards that were signed. Obviously, I have my Rager signed by Lanny of Lanny Rock fame. I have a lightning bolt signed by Michael Flores of Michael Flores fame. I had an ATOG signed by the ATOG Lord himself. It was very, very sweet to meet all the members of the community. Oh, a Cabal Therapy by Robin, of course. Even EVC actually went one step further even, and he himself made an altar of a Psychotog eating a lobster, which was so sick. And now that I am a Fev enthusiast after seeing David piloted yesterday, I'm a Fev nerd now. So you can count on my Psychotog eating a lobster. That's gonna be my one-off right there. And yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool to meet a bunch of faces, to put faces to the names, right? Like we interact in Discord all the time, but it's not very often that I get to see who those people actually are and to hang out and to see that they are just as kind on in person as they are on MTGO, on like Discord. Also met some new people, just like Itai right here, and like a bunch of other folks that was just awesome. Really, really fantastic people all around. Shout out to Flint for top 4ing with like probably the best bid from the entire week and just pulling it off in the best possible way. I actually recorded a video which I posted to Discord, which I thought was hilarious, of him sneaking into the top 8 and actually signing the stabilizer. It was just fantastic. So really, really cool. The hangouts were very, very real. So like what Jared put together really is very cool. So shout out to him as well, and shout out to the lobster rolls, which I have never had one in my life before, and they were extremely tasty. So I will probably be having more of those in the future. And then shout out to having a migraine, which effing sucks, and I would not recommend it. And final and biggest shout out to Tom, who is great and a fantastic friend, and I'm really sorry that he had to go through what he had to go through this weekend, but that means that Madison is going to be that much more special, right, Tom?
Tom says right.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting for. Like, we're going to edit Tom's voice saying, yeah, okay, I'll see you there, man, or something.
Maybe
like that.
he'll edit in Tom's, quoting Itai being like, I've been kidnapped.
Anyway, Lobstercon rules. If you thought that you wanted to go and you didn't go, you should definitely fix that for next year.
Yep. Already looking to 2024.
Yeah, we'll see what the Lanny meta will be in 2024. I'm really looking forward to it.
I hope that we'll see a lot of movement. With land tax still in the mix, but
oh yeah.
I'll tell you what, why don't we leave land tax, unban Necropotence. While we're at it, why don't we unban Bargain? I guarantee you that the metagame will look different, and that land tax will not be a problem.
Stay tuned for our 4-part video series on Necropotence and Yawgmoth's Bargain. Until then, thank you for listening. This was the Yet to Be Named podcast. Thank you, Fran and Itai, for guesting. And we hope to make this a regular thing. And goodbye.
Bye.
Game over.